Hey guys, Naders here, and this is it. We've been waiting for so long, and MultiVersus is finally here. By the time I put this video out, most of you have probably already played it. So as a fun video to go along with its launch, I decided to make a video on my personal wish list. This list isn't 100% up to date, as I found other characters that I'd like to see since making it, but it is mostly accurate. I've been revealing each character over on Twitter, and I said I'd put this video out, so here it is. This video is not over popular characters that everyone wants, it is just my personal wish list. There are 44 characters total on this list, which is a crazy amount. I'd like to make this video as watchable as possible and not be 40 minutes long. That being said, it will probably be a long one. So to limit myself, I'll be going over a character and one or two moves that they could possibly have. I won't go super in depth with everyone, just enough to show that they could be fun to have as playable characters. Plus, I imagine that this video will introduce some new characters to people, which I like being able to do. So let's get into our first character. I'll sort of be going in order from least to most wanted. The first character is the newest from this list, being a show that had its first episode air a little over a year ago. That character being Copernicus from Unicorn Warriors Eternal. Copernicus has a lot of potential due to him being able to transform his body into different things. I think that devs could have a lot of fun incorporating this into the game, and I think that he could have a really awesome moveset. Next, we have Black Hat from Villainous. He has so much potential. He can shapeshift and literally turn into a shadow. He can also pull people into shadows. I think this alone allows the devs to make a very neat moveset. But his abilities don't even stop there. If you have any interest in Villainous, I recommend checking it out. It's a really fun show. We just got Agent Smith into the game, so Neo has to happen at some point, right? I was very surprised we got Smith before Neo, but here's the thing, they are doing a villain season. Smith is a very iconic villain, so it does make sense. I would love to see Neo though. I think his speed makes him very unique. He could totally have a counter move where he grabs the opponent before they hit him due to his quick reflexes. He also has a lot of weapons that he could use. The devs could have a lot of fun with Neo, and he should be added in my opinion. The next character is V from the movie V for Vendetta. I really love V's personality, and he would be such a neat character in the game. His daggers and throwing knives would make him a great assassin in my opinion. Plus, I think he would have some pretty fun character interactions. Dune Part 2 came out earlier this year, and I still haven't had the opportunity to watch it. That being said, I would love to see Paul in this game. He could use his Chris knife and possibly have a move where he is able to put on a shield and have immunity for a couple seconds. I'd imagine the devs could have a lot of fun making this work, and I would really like to see Paul in this game. The first season of MultiVersus is the season of villains, and one character that I think we could potentially see is Spinel from Steven Universe. I think a scythe fighter is a really neat thought. She has the opportunity of bringing something totally new to the game with her scythe, and I'd imagine she could be a really cool stretchy assassin for MultiVersus. The next character I'd love to see would have to be Willy Wonka. With 3 movies to pull from, I'd imagine that they could give him a very unique moveset. I'd imagine that he could use his cane as his primary weapon, and he could call on some Oompa Loompas for help or something like that. The devs could go so many directions with him, and I think he could be a very neat inclusion. The first DC character of this video is Killer Moth. After watching the complete history of LEGO Killer Moth, I was hooked on the character, which, go watch that video by the way. I remember playing the LEGO Batman games for the Wii and loving the character. The fact that he has wings and can fly gives him a lot of potential, but he could also use some guns, one of which being his cocoon gun. He has a lot of neat things going for him, and I would love to see him included. Next is Ralph from Rampage. I'd love to see a mix between the movie and video game version for his abilities. He can glide and shoot spikes, but he also can howl, which could be worked into a move. I think he would be a great video game addition to the game and show just how vast Warner's properties are. The joke character that I want to see most has to be Gary from the movie Game Night. I loved his character in that movie, and I think he would be such a funny inclusion for MultiVersus. I think he could use a gun as well as his dog Bastion. He could also have some really fun board game references. The devs could get creative with him, and he could potentially be very fun. One of the characters that I want that has some really neat potential has to be Max and Darla from Cats Don't Dance. Having a duo character is already a neat idea, but having one where one of the characters is huge and the other is tiny is such a neat concept to me. I think Max could maybe do all the special moves, which would be very heavy hitters, and Darla would do all the regular attacks. It would give this movie the attention it deserves, as it is a great movie. One of the movies that I saw recently in theaters was Blue Beetle. I thought there was so much life in that movie, and I really did enjoy it. I would love to see Blue Beetle in the game. He has so much potential as well. His whole gimmick is that his suit protects him, and he can also create basically anything he imagines, like this sword here. I think it would be a really neat concept for the game, and I'd love to see him included. AI Artificial Intelligence was a movie that I enjoyed. Teddy had to be my favorite character in it, and I was originally thinking that he could be a great support character. But now it appears that all support roles are gone, and I'm not sure what class he would be. Him being a robot gives him potential, and I do think the devs could create a pretty neat moveset for him. He could also possibly use a needle as a weapon and would be a very neat inclusion in MultiVersus. I've talked about Migo before in one of my previous videos. I think he has a lot of potential, and I'd love to see a Yeti included in the game. I think he could also have a plane move where he gets stuck in a plane and is propelled forward. On impact with an opponent, the plane blows up, freeing Migo, allowing him to do further damage. I actually found out about the next character from a YouTube comment. Ruby had commented about a cowgirl named Calamity Jane in my 2000s character video. I decided to look into her, and I think that she has some really awesome potential. She has a whip that she uses as her primary weapon. I think that a whip character has some really neat potential, and Jane would be a perfect candidate in my opinion. This show was so underrated, and you can even watch it for free. I'd highly recommend it. A movie that I never knew was made by Warner has to be Where the Wild Things Are. I'd absolutely love to see Carol included as a playable fighter. It would be so cool to see him alongside the rest of the cast. I'd imagine he could have a rage meter and then start doing serious damage. I'd love to see him included, and I think the devs could have a lot of fun making him work. My favorite part about the Suicide Squad was definitely King Shark. I loved his character so much, and I want to see this beast in the game. He would be such a fantastic tank and would be a very heavy hitter. He could also have some biting moves, and maybe even a bomb similar to the one that he made of Peacemaker in the movie. I think the devs could pull him off fantastically, and I would love to see him. When Christmas comes around, I'd love to see Buddy the Elf included. He would be such a fun character and bring so much life into the game. I think that he could have a snowball throw move which could damage opponents. There's so much I'd love to say about him, but am trying to keep this video as short as possible. So I'll say this, the devs could totally make Buddy work and make him be a ton of fun. You cannot have a game made up of Warner characters without the Warner siblings. I think the Animaniacs are a must for this game, and they should totally be added as a 3-in-1 character. I think the way they should work is by having a lot of their moves be chargeable. If you use a move without charging it, only one of the siblings will do that move. Charge the move fully, and all three will do it, causing a lot more damage output. The Mask is a movie that I watched specifically to decide if I wanted him as a character or not. After watching, I totally do want him. I think that he could have a tornado move similar to Taz, but yet different. Maybe his could be faster and have less knockback or something like that. He has a lot more potential than just this, but I think that the tornado would be really neat. If MultiVersus were to add a second horror character after Jason, I'd love for it to be Pennywise. He's such a wacky, scary character, and he has a lot of potential. He can shapeshift into basically whatever he wants, and I think the devs could use this to its full potential. They could take a lot of creative liberties with it. I think Pennywise would be such a fantastic inclusion. Another horror character that I'd like to see is a Krite from the movie Critters. MultiVersus has the opportunity to allow Gremlins versus Critters to be a reality, which is super cool to me. I think they could also use their poison spikes to knock out opponents for a short period of time. The devs could make them be a lot of fun, and I'd love to see them included. One of my most wanted DC characters has to be Poison Ivy. She has a lot of potential being able to control plants. They could make her moveset be very interesting visually. I'd love to also see her reactions with a character that I will reveal later. The devs could make her so unique, and she would certainly liven up the roster. Hanna-Barbera has a lot of characters that can be pulled from it, but Yogi Bear is definitely one of the more iconic ones. With how many episodes his shows have, the devs could come up with basically anything for him. It feels wrong not to have him included in a Warner game. He's right up there with the likes of Tom and Jerry and Marvin the Martian. I probably shouldn't say Bugs Bunny though, as Bugs is definitely more iconic. Another Christmas-themed character that I'd love to see has to be the Polar Express conductor. I think that he would be hilarious. I think that for his playstyle, he should rack up damage on an opponent. Each opponent starts with a ticket, but when a certain amount of damage is dealt to them, they lose that ticket. The ticket would then float around on the stage and can be recovered. But if it is not, the conductor does a lot more damage to the opponent than they did before. I think that a Polar Express stage will be the most that we see of the movie, but I'd love to have the conductor be playable. My second most wanted DC character has to be Mr. Freeze. I've loved him for as long as I can remember, and he has some really interesting potential moves. He could freeze the other opponents in their place, allowing him to rack up damage or something. I'd imagine the freeze move would have a cooldown. The devs could make him a really neat and fun character, and I really do want to see him. One of the less likely picks that I'd like to see would have to be Dodger from the movie Monkey Trouble. Dodger is a pickpocket monkey, and I think that he could have a move where he pickpockets a projectile from a character. He could pickpocket Batman's Batarang, or Banana Guard's spear. He could then throw them to damage opponents. I think this is a really neat move idea, and I would love to see Dodger included. I really hope that we see Lego at some point in this game. I think Emmett would be fantastic. He basically has limitless potential. I think he could build objects for most of his moves due to him being a master builder. The devs could take a lot of creative liberties with him, and I think he would be a fantastic inclusion. Most people who want Lord of the Rings in this game want Gandalf or Frodo or Sauron or something. I personally want Gollum added into the game. I love the little dude. He totally could have a fish throw move like in LEGO Dimensions, a fish slam attack, or even go invisible using the One Ring. If the Lord of the Rings gets into the game, I really hope that Gollum is included eventually. This spot was originally supposed to go to Duck from Duck Game. But since making this list, it was announced that Warner is cutting ties with Adult Swim Games. So due to this, I think that Duck is a lot less likely. If I could throw in a different character instead, I'd probably go with Fawn from Pan's Labyrinth. He could use his fairies to fight as well as his dagger that he has been seen with. I Am Legend is a movie that I loved a lot. I'd love to see it have some sort of representation in the game. I think that Robert Neville could have some gun moves, or use his dog to fight his opponents. He also has a golf club that he swings, which could be worked into a move. The Goonies is a movie that I have loved for a very long time. Sloth would be such a unique character and my personal most wanted Goonies rep. I think that he would be able to use a sword or even throw a candy bar like he does in LEGO Dimensions. I think Data has a lot more potential for a character, but Sloth has such a fun personality. I would love a Goonies rep in this game, and I do hope that they are added into the roster. One of my favorite video games, and one that I've had a lot of fond memories playing, has to be LEGO Dimensions. And you can probably tell that, considering that I've brought it up a couple times in this video so far. The main villain of that game was an original character called Lord Vortek. I think Vortek would be such a cool character to bring into MultiVersus. He could summon portals and spawn in minions to fight against opponents. He has a lot of potential, and I really would love to see him included. A character that has one of the most unique concepts for a fighting game has to be Audrey 2. His 4MultiVersus account on Twitter has created a concept where he grows in size over the course of the game, which I think is a great idea. Also, Poison Ivy would have fantastic interactions with him. They would be such a fun team, and I hope that they both get added so we can see them fight together. Kangaroo Jack was not a movie I was expecting to like so much, but I actually enjoyed it a lot. I would love to see Jackie Legs get into the game. He could have some boxing moves like he does in the sequel movie, and maybe even a yo-yo move. He would bring a lot of life into the game, and I really hope that the devs decide to add him. I really want to see the knight from Joust get into MultiVersus. Imagine how funny it would be if you had a knight riding on an ostrich standing next to the likes of Jason Voorhees and Batman. It would be so insanely awesome. I may make a moveset video for him in the future, but in this video, I'll leave it at this. He has a lot more potential than you think. Yes, he could use his jousting stick, but there's so much more to him than just that. I really hope that he is on a couple of the devs' radars and that he will get added in the future. Ted Lasso might not be a character that you'd expect to see in a fighting game, but I think that he could actually work. I'd imagine him having a move where he turns into his alter ego, led Tasso, to deal more damage. Regular Ted attacks you by accident and apologizes for hurting you. Led, on the other hand, is intentionally harming you, and he is very much not sorry. It seems like such a neat concept, and the devs could have a lot of fun with it. Bingo is a character that I have made a video on in the past. He has been handled very interestingly. Having been in a suicide comic, a horror movie, and he is in a criminal gang in the TV show Jellystone. I think they could merge all of these interpretations and create a cool moveset for him. He could use guns, an axe, and even a guitar as weapons to fight with. King Kong is one of my favorite movie characters in history, and with the new movie he has gotten more potential for the game. Not only could he use his axe, but now he has a big mechanical glove that he can use to enhance his strength. He's the perfect candidate for another big character, and he could do a lot more than just be a heavy-hitting brawler. For instance, he could use a boat propeller on a chain as a weapon, which would be really neat in my opinion. My most wanted horror character for sure happens to be Edgar Frog. He has so many weapons that he could use, and I'd imagine him being a mix between a mage and an assassin. His stake could be his primary weapon, and he could also have a crossbow and other projectile moves as well. He has so much potential being in 3 movies and multiple comics, and I really hope that he gets added. The next character that I would love to see is my favorite DC character, Chemo. I think that his elasticity and his chemical sprays makes him have the most potential. Due to him not being a very popular DC character, I doubt that we will see him, but I would very much like to see his inclusion. I also made a video on the whole moveset for him, so if you're interested, consider going and watching it. Now we are down to the final 3. Coming in 3rd place, we have Elf. I think that Elf would fit perfectly in the game. He would have such amazing dialogue and would be a fantastic character. And imagine that he could have a move where he chases a cat, as well as a move where he roasts the closest opponent. Elf is constantly cracking jokes, and I think that it would make him feel very character accurate. My second most wanted character is Mumford from Twice Upon a Time. I've made a whole moveset for him in the past, so if you're interested, consider watching it. I think that he could have a move where a boxing glove punches out of his hat, as well as a move where he uses a trident. He has a lot of potential that I can't go into, but if you wonder more about him, do consider watching my previous video on him. Now we're to my most wanted character, and my most wanted character is one that I haven't ever seen anyone suggest. That character being the Postman. The Postman is a character that I'd like to cover in a future video, but know that he has a ton of moveset potential, especially because the movie is nearly 3 hours long. I love his character so much, and I think that his movie is super underrated. And for moves, he could use a gun or a knife or, a million other things that he does in the movie. I highly suggest watching it to anyone who has not already seen it. I'd love to see him represented in the game, and I hope that he gets added in the future. With that, I think we will end the video here. I wanted to make this video to shine some light on lesser known characters and less popular picks. Hopefully you all are enjoying MultiVersus so far and enjoyed this video. I appreciate all the subscribers I've gotten recently. It was just in my last video that I was thanking you all for 500 subscribers, and now I'm less than 20 away from 600, which is crazy. So if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. Next week I plan to make another MultiVersus related video, so look forward to that. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next week.